Most n8n tutorials teach you how to build something that will never handle a real customer. So let me guess, you have watched some YouTube tutorials about n8n and they show you to build something on localhost and you get excited and then you build it. And then what? In general, it sits on your laptop at localhost port 5678, looking pretty, doing actually nothing. But here is what nobody tells you. Localhost cannot receive webhooks. Localhost also is not HTTPS. Localhost also crashes when you close your laptop. And localhost cannot really handle real customers. So in general, you actually learned how to make an automation that will probably never earn you a single dollar. But what if I showed you how to deploy a production n8n automation, one that's live, handling real customers and making real revenue in the next 45 minutes? And that's exactly what we are building today. Not a demo, not a proof of concept, a real production n8n automation that will run 24/7 on a cloud infrastructure. An automation that has HTTPS and a real domain. An automation that processes real customer signups. An automation that sends actual emails. It tracks everything in a CRM and it costs just $11 a month instead of $500 plus a month. Here's the deal. If you just want to learn n8n or play with the automation, you can just close this video, watch the tutorials on YouTube and you'll be fine with that. But if you want to deploy something that handles actual customers by the end of today, stay with me and watch the video till the end. And while you're thinking about it, hit that subscribe button to get more n8n production tutorials like this one, and smash the like button if you already see that this video is going to provide you value. Alright, so before we build anything, I'm going to show you the end result. This is what most n8n tutorials fail to show. As they don't really show you the final business outcome, they usually show what the proof of concept looks like. So this right now here is a live n8n instance. This is deployed on my domain called sigmamemer.com. I just picked it randomly, but here you could imagine your own domain where you are running n8n automations. And this is just one of those. Once you have deployed n8n, you can essentially implement or add multiple automations running right here on a production server, which is super secure. So it's not prone to DDoS attacks, etc. And you can have fully functional n8n automations running 24/7. And the best part, this is running on cloud infrastructure, which means that this is accessible from anywhere in the world. So let's quickly jump into the demo. This particular automation triggers when there's a new form submission, and then it sends an email to the person who's submitting the form and my sales team, and it also notifies me on Slack. So here is the form that is going to be submitted. So here I'm just going to check mark this and I'm going to simulate someone submitting this form. That someone right now is this Mailinator account. So what I'm going to do is quickly delete all of these and I'm going to copy this username and I'm going to go here and paste the email. And now I've filled the form. So we have the full name right here. We have the company name. Also, I've selected the plan type and the source, and I'm just going to submit it. Once you do so, you're going to see that our n8n instance can see this execution running. So here we're going to see this running any second. And there you go. You can see that it already succeeded in just merely 2 seconds. So you can see how fast it was. And if I open it here, you can actually see all the values coming in. For example, if I look at the data here, you can see that this is the email, this is the full name, the company name, etc. All of these things are right here. And you can see that all of the nodes work fine because you see these tick marks. So all of this worked. Now, if I go to my Mailinator, you can see that I just got an email and this is the welcome email sent to the person who submitted the form. So here you can see it says welcome to your SaaS. And of course, you can replace the values here with your own application or your software as a SaaS here. And here you can see it addresses the particular user with their full name. It also shares some information. It has a link as well. So you can modify all of this as well. And finally, you can see that it also has the information of when the trial ends. So from the date this form was submitted, the trial date is automatically calculated and shared with the person. Now, not only we send an email to the person who submitted the form, but to my sales team as well in this use case. And this is my sales team. Here you can see that I got a new lead email. And here we have the name of the person, which was random user October. And we also got the other details like random company, free trial, the sign up source was website, when the trial started, when does it end, and then what are the next steps for my sales team, how can they reach out to this person, etc. And you could also include the link to their profile within your SaaS. So here, if I would ideally click this in a real world situation, it should take me to the application with that person's email. Or if you click this particular button, it should open the email client automatically. Well, not only sending email is part of the automation, but also logging this in the CRM and notifying me on Slack. So if I go to the responses sheet from the form, so this is my form, and if I go to the responses, I go to the sheets, I would basically end up here, and you can see that this was the last entry that I just did. And if I go to the CRM sheet from here, you can see that this is the entry that we have that just came in, and here you can also see that the onboarding stage that we are at is welcome email sent. But what about the Slack message? So if I go to my Slack right now, you can see already that here we have the new message coming in, random user October, it has the email, it has the company name, so all of the information from the sign up. So you can see how many things are happening right now just from submitting a single form and going into all these actions that are automatically done with the n8n workflow. But you know what's the best part? This runs 24/7. This is live and active at the moment. So it runs even when you're on vacation, when you're sleeping and someone is submitting the form. You will have all these executions coming in automatically and the workflow happening automatically as well. And each workflow takes less than 3 seconds. How cool is that? All right, let's talk about numbers. If you are a SaaS owner, of course, you want to look at what is the return on investment, and you're probably not really interested in tech demos. So let's say you get 50 trial signups every month, which is pretty modest, right? If you did manual onboarding, it would take you 10 minutes per signup, which includes emails, CRM entries, notifying on Slack. And that means if you have 50 signups and every one of them takes 10 minutes, that is 500 minutes you're talking about. And that is about 8 to 9 hours of manual work every month. And as an entrepreneur or a tech person, you already know that time is money. And let's say you have $100 per hour, which is pretty conservative for a founder. That still means that you're talking about $800 to $900 a month. But wait, you're actually losing much more than this. For example, missed signups. You're human. You forget, you're busy. Sometimes signups would actually slip through. On average, you can estimate 5 to 10% missed signups, which means 2 to 5 customers a month. If your target amount per user is $500 per se, then you're losing $2,500 per month. Another problem is delayed response. Manual onboarding means delays. The faster you respond, the better your conversion rate is. In general, you can expect 30% to 45% better conversion if you're instantly onboarding someone. And without such an n8n automation, you're essentially losing $1,500 to $3,000 a month. And finally, inconsistent experience. So if you're tired at 11 p.m., your email might not be as efficient as it would be at 9 a.m., whereas the automation is always going to be consistent. So in general, without automation, you're losing about $800 to $900 per month in time, about $1,000 to $2,500 per month in missed leads, and about $1,500 to $3,000 in poor conversions. If you talk about the total loss, that is about $3,300 to $6,300 per month. And that could result in about $39,000 to $75,000 per year. Let that sink in. It's nearly $40,000 just from manual onboarding. Now, I can give you much more reasons to do n8n automation, but I think you get the idea. I don't really want to get too much into numbers, but actually show you how to build this. So this is the architecture diagram for our automation. What happens is when the user fills the Google form, it essentially gets notified whenever there's a new entry in the Google Sheet, which essentially triggers this whole flow, which calculates the trial and it logs to the CRM, it sends a welcome email, it alerts the sales team and also notifies on Slack. And the way it works that when someone goes to your domain, in our case, when someone goes to sigmamima.com, they essentially are greeted by or received by something called Cloudflare, which already has a secure HTTPS or SSL certificate, which has a Cloudflare tunnel. So the user comes to your application via your domain, which is right now managed by Cloudflare. Cloudflare redirects the traffic to a Linux server where you're going to run this n8n process, and that is going to be on Cloudways, which is also the sponsor of this video. And I really want to thank Cloudways for this, because this automation is something that I've been willing to work on for a long time, as I already have this YouTube video that I published just randomly years ago, and it's still one of my top watched videos because a lot of SaaS owners and also event organizers want to see how we can automate this whole email flow whenever someone submits a form. And for you, there's an exciting news. You can use this particular code when signing up with Cloudways, so you get a 20% discount for 3 months, which is an absolutely amazing deal. And you can find even the link for sign up in the description of this video. And with full transparency, this is a paid collaboration, as well as if you sign up with that particular link, you're going to support the channel. And I would be much more motivated, of course, of building these n8n automations on my YouTube channel. But I do want to address this thing that you might be thinking, why do I really need Cloudways at all? And you might be thinking, why can't I just run this on my localhost? And we already discussed this in the introduction, but I want to emphasize on this. When you're running n8n automation on localhost, if your computer shuts down or your laptop is closed, essentially the process is paused and it won't work anymore. When running with Cloudways, you have 24/7, 365 days, this process running on its own, and you don't have to worry about anything. If the process crashes for any reason, it's going to reboot itself, which is awesome. And when you're running on something on localhost, you can't directly accept webhooks as well, which means that if you wanted to update the Google Sheet or have a webhook integration in your automation, localhost doesn't really allow it out of the box. You have to use something like ngrok or some other solutions. Whereas when this is live on production, just like now, it allows you to work with webhooks as well. Another problem is that your localhost is just your machine. You have to carry it everywhere. Whereas when you're deploying this on production on your domain, you can basically access it from any device anywhere in the world. And finally, when you have deployed this with Cloudways, not only you can work with this, but you can also give access to your team as well. Compared to localhost, you're the only person owning it or accessing it. And last but not least, Cloudways also allows you to scale your n8n instance really efficiently, while you can't really do that on localhost that easily without spending a lot of time. So again, use the code SNDEV20 when you're signing up with Cloudways to get a 20% discount for 3 months. All right, with that said, let's actually get into it. We are going to start with downloading these files, and we are going to step by step deploy this to Cloudways and run our n8n automation on production. All right, so I'm going to go now and click I want this, and in here I'm just gonna say 0. But if you want to pay something and support the channel, feel free to do so. Then you can just click I want this, and once you do so, you will be shown this particular page where you can also add a tip or not. Just say 0 here, and then you can just say get. Once you submit, you will see that you will have the purchase, and you'll see some information here and the file to download. So just click download right here, and then you can save the file. So I'm going to go to my SaaS folder here, and I'm going to just save this. Now you can use any tool to basically unzip it or extract it. For example, I can go to my folder here, and I can just right click here and say extract. You can use WinRAR, WinZip, or some other tool as well, just to extract the folder out. Once you have that, you can essentially look at the files there. One of the things that you'll see immediately here is this start here.txt. So you can open that in your editor. I'm going to open it in just a simple editor right here. And in here, you can see that it has some initial information for you. So here you will see what you have got so far and how to start. So in here, you can see that the first step mentions that you have to read the documentation. So we have a README file and we have a setup guide. So ideally, you should be looking at the README, but when it would come for the setup with the deployment script, etc., you would look into that as well. But I'm going to follow the whole tutorial with you, so you don't have to worry about that. So I would recommend going to this tool called Delinger.io, where you can read the documentation, and you don't really need to read the rest of it, but if you want, feel free to do so. Now I'm going to go to the tab, and this is the site called Delinger.io. So when you go there, you'll essentially see this. And now what you can do is go here, click import from, and click markdown file. And then you can go to the folder. So I'm going to go into the downloaded folder, and here you can see the README. Once you open that, you should be able to see the whole README for the primary flow. As it says here, you can essentially go to this file, import from disk or from the markdown file as it says. And then if you go a bit down here, you can see that we have information about the setup guide, but I want you to go further down and see here. One of the things that we need to do is to work with Cloudways or to ask them for some support. So from here, I want you to scroll a bit down, and here you can see that this is the first step. So we should have a Cloudways server, and you can use my code here, which is SNDEV20, and you can have a 20% discount for 3 months from Cloudways, which is also, of course, the sponsor of this video. So now when you do a control click, you can open this into a new tab, and then essentially you can log in or sign up with your Google or your GitHub, etc. And you can see here that the promo code is already applied, which will ensure that you get the discount. Now I already have the account, so I don't really need to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to log in with my account. So I'm going to log in with my Google, and let's look at what do we need to have next. So we also need a domain that is managed by Cloudflare. So this is one of the prerequisites. Since we are talking about production, I would assume that you already have a domain where you want to put this particular automation. So in our case, what I would do is I would essentially go ahead and go to Cloudflare, which is a service which you can get for free, and you can have the secure HTTPS or SSL certificate for free, which builds up trust from your customers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to Cloudflare, and when you go to Cloudflare, and you can just Google it, and it would ask you to log in or sign up. You just continue with your Google or Apple, whatever. And once you do so, you would have to add your domain in Cloudflare. So at the time of recording this video, you can see that in account home, I see this overview, and in here I can see domain, and it asks me to register a new domain or basically add it. If you don't have a domain, you can just click here to register a domain, where you can search a domain, buy it, and then you can come back to this overview page and then add it right here. Or you could go to some other provider like GoDaddy or Namecheap and basically find the cheapest domain that you can, and then come back here. I already have some domains, so I'm going to go to my Namecheap, and I'm going to go to my domain called Sigma Memer. Here you can see my domain. So if I click manage now, I'm now in the domain settings, and the setting that you're looking for to change is going to be this Namecheap basic DNS, or the name server, so to say. Here you would have to add Cloudflare's name server, so your domain can work with Cloudflare, or Cloudflare is essentially sort of receiving traffic for your domain. So whenever someone tries to go to Sigma Memer, in my case, it would essentially go to Cloudflare, and from Cloudflare we want to redirect that to the Cloudways server. So now that we have the domain, actually I'm going to actually go to Cloudflare, and here I'm going to register the domain. It's called sigmamemer.com. I'm just using this random domain for my n8n automation. So I'm going to quickly do this. I'm going to say continue, and we want to use the default option for quick scan for DNS. So just keep everything as default and go with the free plan. The free plan actually allows a lot of good things, including this SSL certificate, which is for the secure traffic. It's really easy to use. So just go ahead and select the free plan. If you don't see the loader, just refresh the page, and you may need to select the free plan again. But once this is loaded, we can proceed forward. All right, here you can see a few things. First, it says invalid name servers here. This is important because we want to set the right name servers in Namecheap, and then we'll ask Cloudflare again to check, and then it should be active once everything is done. So if I scroll a bit down here, you can see that we should have this www or Sigma Member right here with some content. I want you to delete this particular record, which is CNAME, which has sigmamember.com, and you may not see it. If you don't see it, that's fine. But if you see it, then you just need to go ahead and delete this one because we are going to create this later on. So once you have done that, just go to continue to activation. And then here you will see the name servers that we need to copy to our domain provider. So in my case, I have my domain sigmamember.com provided by Namecheap. You could have GoDaddy or whatever. You just need to Google how to change the name servers. And once you find the option, you can essentially copy these ones and then go here and then paste. So this is the first name server. I'm going to go and copy the second name server, and then I can just copy paste this. And now I have to press this save. And now the name servers are going to be updated accordingly. It takes anywhere from 5 minutes to a couple of hours to check the changes or to propagate the changes. So once this is saved, you may have to go back to Cloudflare and try to check the server later on. So now that this is saved, I'm going to go to Cloudflare. I'm going to hit continue here. And now you can see that it says last step is updating the name server. So I have already updated my name servers, but this is not currently looking right. So I'm going to click here, this button that says check name servers now. And then you can see that here it says Cloudflare is now checking the name servers for sigmamember.com, and we need to wait for a few hours. It's not really few hours. It, I think, just takes a couple of minutes, so to say. So I've refreshed the page and you can see it's not already here. So I'm just going to leave it for now, and we are going to come back to this later. So we've talked about having a Cloudflare domain. Now we are looking into this step, which is SSH access to Cloudways server. So if you have already logged in to Cloudways server, you would have to create a new server, and you can see that my server is still being created. But I'll show you how to create one. So you click add server, and then you go and say select application. Then you're going to select PHP, and then you're going to give this a name. You can give this, I don't know, awesome SaaS app, something like this. And then the server name could be server. And then you can just select a project or create a project. Once you do so, you can select DigitalOcean, and then you can keep everything as it is. But here, the server and the RAM for it, you can go ahead and say standard. And here you can say 1 GB. Once you do so, you can see at the bottom that this is monthly $11. And that's what I said. It's super cheap. Basically have your own n8n automation. So you can just select this particular option. Then you can also select the location. In my case, since I'm based in Sweden, I have selected Frankfurt, but you can choose the location that's near to you because you are going to be running the automation, so to say. Once you're ready, just hit this launch now button, and then your server should start creating. Great. Now you can see that I see this notification that says awesome SaaS server has been created. So we are good. Once a server is created, it also creates alongside an application. So this is my awesome software as a service application. I have my server credentials and I have my application credentials. But what I want you to do is to use the master credentials in this case. So in order to fulfill this step, which is SSH access to Cloudways server, I need to have a couple of things. I need to have the public IP for it, the username and the password, which you can see in the server itself. So if you don't find it, you can essentially go to home or the sidebar. Once you mouse over here, you can see my servers. And then from there, you can just click the server and you will be here in this page where you have master credentials. So I'm going to copy the username first. Then what you have to do is to run the command SSH. And here you need to paste the username and then @ and then the IP. So I'm going to go back to my browser and copy the IP just like this. And I'm going to paste it. Now I'm running this terminal called Kitty and I need to access the SSH with particular settings. So I'm going to add something to it, but you don't really have to do that. So especially if you're running, let's say Windows with PowerShell, this command should work. If you're running Linux, of course, this would work. And if you are on Mac OS and are using a terminal, that would also work the same. I'm quickly going to run this command. And of course, you don't need to enter this part right here. So if you hit enter, it's going to ask for adding the fingerprint or basically registering this new address. So just say yes. And then it needs the password. So you go back to your browser and here you copy the password from here. Then you come back and you paste it. You will probably not see anything. Just do a Control V or Command V and then hit enter. And then you will see that now we are inside the SSH server. This is good. If you do ls, which is basically listing the directory, you'll see applications right here. And if you do cd applications, you go in the folder. And in here, if you do ls again, now you will see which applications do we have. Well, this particular application is exactly the application that we have in our Cloudways server. So here, if I try to click here, applications installed on this server. And if I go to awesome software as a service, here you will see that in the access details, we have the same application name as the DB name. So this is exactly the application that we have, which ends with BEZ. So here you can see the same thing right here. If you cd into this thing and then you do ls again, now you see the folders inside here. They're going to work a lot inside this public HTML folder. So I'm going to quickly do a clear and then cd into public HTML just to be here. Now, if I look at this folder right now, it just has an index.php, but we are going to add more files. Now, let's go back to the documentation. So here we now have SSH access to the Cloudways server. Now I need the Google account for the Google Forms, Sheets, and Gmail, but that part comes on later. I also need a Slack workspace, but this is completely optional. This is for when you want a notification on your Slack, as I showed in the demo. And finally, I also have to have Cloudways support creating the required files. So now that I have SSH in here, I'm going to quickly go ahead and I'm going to copy all of this and I'm going to go to Cloudways
here and I'm going to open this support. Once you do so, you can quickly go to send us a message right here, and then you can select technical help. It doesn't really matter which options you choose, but essentially you can go ahead with the default options. In my case, I'm just going to choose Node.js npm composer because it has asked me like which relates to my problem. Just select anything from here. And now when you see an input box, just say connect me with an agent. And trust me when I say this, their support is super amazing, really fast to connect with as well. So just wait for a while they connect you to a human agent. All right, so you can see that Javeria has just joined the chat. So I'm going to just paste all of this. I'm going to replace the name, or you can just leave it as it is. And then I'm also going to go ahead and just give them my server's address or IP. So I'm going to also copy the IP, and you can just say, here is the IP of my server. I'm going to paste the IP and send it. And since I have been working with this tutorial for a while, Javeria has already talked to me before. So she probably knows how to deal with this quickly. And when you are going to reach out, probably they will also know that as well. Well, in the meantime, I'm going back to my Cloudflare and I'm going to start seeing if this is working now. So if I say check name servers now, and if I just do a refresh, there you go. You can see that now this is active. So this is actively working and everything should be good. If I go to DNS records, we don't see sigmamima.com with a C name here at the moment. And that's what we are going to add later, as I've mentioned before. While this is happening, we are going to do a couple of things. We do have a deploy script, which I created for you to make things easier. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy this file or the contents of this file to the server. So what I'm going to do is if I go to my server now and I try to open the file. So if I go to downloads, SaaS, basic Gumroad, here you can see the deploy.sh file. If I right click it, open it in an editor, and you can choose Notepad or whatever, I can see the contents of the file right here. So I'm going to copy this whole file at the moment, and I'm going to go to my server here. I'm going to create this file. So here, if I do ls, I can see I only have index.php. So I'm going to do a nano deploy.sh. And all of this is in the README as well. So you can read that as well, but you can follow along. So now if I hit enter, I can paste my contents here. So try Control V or Control Shift V, or if you are on a Mac, then Command V or Command Shift V. Once you have pasted this, it should look like this. So you can see all of the content have been pasted here. Then you need to press Control X, as you can see at the bottom here. And then you need to say Y and just hit enter. And then you will see that we have now a file. If you do ls, that's called deploy.sh. That's awesome. But we can't really run this command until we have the things done from Cloudways. In the meantime, the Cloudways support says that I need to stay connected and they'll get back to me in a moment. So I'll just say sure, and I'll just have my cup of coffee. And in fact, in the meantime, what I'm going to do is if you scroll a bit down, you will see that we do have this step where we need to create this file, the deploy.sh, in the public HTML. We already did that. We need to make the script executable. So I'm going to copy this now. I'm going to go to my server, and that has essentially updated the permissions of this particular script, but we are not going to run it at the moment unless Cloudways is done. All right, so now we have gotten a message from Javeria that the folders are created and we have a screenshot, and I've just said, okay, thanks a bunch. I'll take it from here. So let's go back to our server now. And in here, if I look at public HTML, do ls, I see my deploy sh here. But if I do cd ... which means I go one step above or one folder out, then if I do ls-la, I should be able to see all these files. So here we have the bash aliases. We also have the n8n, npm, all these folders that were asked, they are created. So that's good. So if I go back to my tutorial now, you can see that we are supposed to run the deploy sh, and I'm going to see if any other step is required at this moment. Well, there's not. So I just need to run this deploy script. So I'm going to copy this actually, and I'm going to go to my folder, which is the public HTML. So make sure that you are in the right folder. So if we look at this, this is essentially home, master, and then it should be applications, and then your application folder, and then essentially public HTML. So this is the folder that you need to be in. And if you do ls, you should be able to see the deploy sh script, and then you just need to run this command. Once you do so, it's going to guide you interactively with asking your domain, the tunnel ID, etc. So let's quickly have a look at that. So if I hit enter, you can see here that it asks you a question, and it also says what it's going to do. So it's going to update the node version. It's going to also implement or install n8n, and Cloudflare tunnel will be created as well. And then we also would have PM2 as well. I'm going to quickly say why. So just don't press enter. You have to say why when a question like yes or no is being asked here. Now you can see that it asks me for the domain. So I'm going to say sigmamima.com. And if I hit enter now you can see that it says your Cloudways application directory is usually something like this. So I need to give the directory name, which comes after. So here you can see that this is what you need. Instead of exiting this application, you need to essentially go back to Cloudways. And when you go here, you're going to be able to see that inside the application. So here you're going to see that if I click application right here, and then if you click right here, awesome SaaS, you will be able to find the application name as we saw before right here. So copy the database from here, go back here and just paste it. And now you can just hit enter. Now it's asking what is going to be the tunnel name in this case. And the default is n8n tunnel. So if you want, you can keep it as it is, or you can type a name. So here I could just say n8n tunnel, or I can just hit enter. So it's going to default to it. Now here you can see that this shows you what is the sort of configuration for Cloudflare tunnel here. So this is the domain that we have. This is the app directory. This is the tunnel name. And this is where the installation path is. I'm going to just say yes in this case. So make sure to press Y instead of just hitting enter. Now you can see that it goes ahead. It now is installing NVM. So it's going to update the node version where our n8n application will run. And then after it's done with that, it's going to also install n8n as well, which will take some time. So I would say just, grab a glass of water or a coffee while this is happening. All right. So I can see that the n8n package was installed completely. Then it went ahead with adding this to bash aliases. And now we have an error in deploy sh. And here it says make dir command not found, which is interesting. Right. Now you can see that n8n is installed and bash aliases are already configured as well. There was an error that I fixed with the script, so you should not really have it. And now you can see that it also installed Cloudflare here. So you can see that this is installed now and it's available. It also installed PM2. And finally, it has created the ecosystem config file as well for this particular domain that I added. Really nice. Now we have some manual steps to complete so we can deploy n8n on production. So the first thing that we need to do is to basically run this so we can log in with Cloudflare. So I'm going to copy this command and I'm doing it with Control-Shift-C. You can also use Command-Shift-C as well. And then you go all the way at the bottom and here you can just paste it and run it. And now you can see that this shows me a link. I'm going to copy the link and I'm going to go to my browser and I'm going to create a new tab and paste it here. And now since we already have sigmamemer.com added right here in the domains, we already have Sigmamemer here and you can see that this is active and available now. So I can go here and click this guy right here and click authorize. Once you do so, you will see that here automatically the certificate will be installed and you'll see a log. And there you go. You can see that it was installed now. We are logged in and we have the certificate right here. Now let's see the next steps here. So the second step is creating the Cloudflare tunnel. So I'm going to actually copy this particular command. Just so you understand what we are doing here is if I go to the DNS records. So if you go to overview, your domain and DNS records in Cloudflare, you're going to see that we are missing a CNAME here with sigmamemer.com right here. So that's exactly what this command is doing. So I'm going to copy this and then paste it right here and run this. And there you can see that the tunnel credentials are written. So the tunnel is created with this ID. We need to use this ID later on. So after step 2, when we have created the tunnel, I have to do this. I have to create a folder and then I need to create a config YAML. So I'm going to actually copy this whole thing. I'm going to go at the bottom here and I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this. Now this one becomes a bit tricky if you copy this because also these lines come along with that. So what I'll do is I'll quickly copy this and I go at the bottom and I create this with nano. So here you're going to see this command. When you run it, this will open the nano editor and now I can paste the code. And for this, you need to go back to your browser and I'm going to duplicate this tab so I can open the setup markdown file. So I'll go here, import from markdown file, and here I'm going to open the setup guide. Here is where you can find the tunnel setup. So if you click here or you go down here, you're going to see that you have this particular configuration. So you can copy it from here, just copy it and then go back to the editor in the SSH terminal. So here you can paste it and now you can just save it so you can copy your tunnel ID again. So just do a Control X, Y, and then simply hit enter. And now you can copy this ID. So I'm going to copy this whole ID by doing Control Shift C and then I'm going to rerun this command again. So nano Cloudflare config YAML. So I can open it and now I'm going to quickly go ahead and replace the tunnel ID right here. And then also I'm going to go here, replace this, and don't forget to update your domain as well. So here you need to put the domain. So I'm going to say sigmamemer.com. Now I can save this by doing Control X and you can see it right here. So I can say Control X and then it asks me yes or no. So simply just Y and then you just say enter. And now we have the configuration done. Let's see the next step. So we do have this tunnel configuration done. Now I need to route through the tunnel. So what I need to do is I need to delete the existing A record and I already have done that. So we don't really need to do that. Here it says A, but it's essentially CNAME in our case. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of this till here and then go here and then create that route. So I'm going to hit enter now. And there you go. You can see that it says added the CNAME and here you can see the whole thing right here. If I go to my browser now again and if I go to DNS records here and if I just refresh on this page, you will see that now we will have a CNAME. And there you go. You can see that this is the record that it added. It says sigmamemer.com and this content right here is essentially the tunnel ID or an email with that, to be honest. Now this is done. We can go back to our terminal and see what's next. So now we have routed the DNS through tunnel, step 4. Now we need to go to step 5, which is adding the domain in Cloudways. This is super important because Cloudways is where our actual n8n server is or where it is running, which I've SSH into right now. You have a domain. When someone goes to your domain, it goes to Cloudflare. From the Cloudflare, it has to come to Cloudways, which is this server. So for that, we need to go to the dashboard and we need to go into something called domain management and add the domain sigmamemer there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Cloudways now. And in here, you can see that this is my SaaS server and this is my application. In the application itself, you need to go to domain management. And in here, you can see this default app. I need to add a new domain and I'm going to say sigmamemer.com and then I can just do save changes here. And this can can sometimes take some time. So here you can see that this was added, and now I just need to click these three dots, and in here I can say make primary because I want to make this the primary domain. So you can just do that, and this also takes some time. In the meantime, let's see what is the next step. So here now we have to wait for the DNS propagation. It can take between 1 to 2 minutes, and once we are done with that, we essentially need to just start the n8n server with PM2. So I could run these commands if I had run PM2 before, but I did not, so I don't need to look into these at all, but I need to run this one. So PM2 start, and then essentially this ecosystem config.js. So I'm going to copy this now, and I'm going to go all the way down here, and I'm going to just paste it, and as soon as I hit enter, this is going to start the n8n server. So here you can see that it started the n8n server for us and also used PM2 for the first time. I can do PM2 logs to see if n8n is working, and you can see that it is essentially going to start n8n, and it also sometimes runs some migrations as well. So here you can see that it says initializing n8n process, and it's going to basically create some entities, some things inside that basically make n8n work with all the nodes, etc. So you can just look into this and then just press Control C because we are looking at the logs right now. So PM2 logs is how you see all the processes running. Anyways, now I go back and I want to see the next step here. So after we have run the n8n process, we can run PM2 save, but I'm going to run this later on. Now I also need to start the Cloudflare tunnel because I want to see if the tunneling from this Cloudways server to Cloudflare actually works. So I don't need to run this command because I never ran Cloudflare tunnel before in this server. So I can start with this guy right here, and I'm going to copy this command. And before I run this, I need to make sure that on Cloudways, this is my primary domain because this is important. Now that this is done, and I can see that this is the primary one, I'm going to go and copy this, and I'm going to go ahead all the way down, and I'm going to run PM2 start Cloudflare and then this whole command. So I'm going to hit enter now, and this should be fine. And you can see now we have a process running here as well. Now I want to see what's the next step. So here I just need to run PM2 save and PM2 startup, and then also check the logs for Cloudflare tunnel. So I'm going to copy this line, PM2 logs Cloudflare tunnel lines 20. I'm just going to copy this now. I want to see the logs before I run the PM2 save and startup. So I'm going to run this now, and if everything is working nice, I should see registered tunnel connection just like this. And if you don't see this, that means that something is not correct. So it could be that Cloudways does not have this domain as primary set or registered here. It could also be that you're missing the CNAME right here. So it could be many of those things. It could also be that when we were creating this tunnel, you did not click authorize here. So troubleshoot and see or rewatch the video to see what went wrong. Anyways, now that we can see that this is working fine, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly do a clear, and now I can say PM2 save. So it saves these processes for running, and then PM2 startup as well. I don't think the startup actually works here because you need sudo. So you could ask the Cloudways team for this, but it's not as necessary. If I just do PM2 logs right now, I can see all the logs of my n8n server as well as Cloudflare as well. And this actually means that everything should be running now. So it's the moment of truth now. So if I go to a new tab, I can go to sigmamemer.com, and this is the first time we are trying it after setting up everything. So if I hit enter, there we go. We see n8n deployed on production. Yay! So just in a few minutes, with the help of Cloudways support and the script that I created, you're welcome, you are able to deploy n8n on production, which means that now you need to just set up your own account. So I'm going to give it my email quickly. And once you do so, just hit next. So your account is created. This is your admin account that you will use to basically log into n8n. And now here you can just fill the survey quickly. So here I've quickly filled this. I'm just going to say get started. And here you will see that you can actually receive a free license key to activate your n8n instance. So make sure to get this one. So you write your email and just click this button. And now you can see that your license key is on the way. It's important to unlock some of the features. Well, I just got my license key in my email. So I can essentially go to the settings here. So you click your username, you go to settings, and here you should be able to see this button that says enter activation key. So you just paste your key here. And once you save this, your license key should be activated. Now you can go back home here. And now what I want you to do is to create a workflow. So just click here, and then you should be able to see everything working here. Trust me, when I was implementing this and deploying to Cloudways, there were a lot of issues regarding WebSockets, making it possible to save your workflows, etc., that I fixed myself so you don't have to. With this whole architecture of Cloudflare plus Cloudways and this n8n workflow, you can instantly essentially implement your onboarding flow for your application or for your SaaS project. So this is amazing. Anyways, now we are going to click these three dots, and here you should be able to see something called import from file. When you click this, now you can basically take from your downloads or the Gumroad file that you downloaded. You can see here we have this primary flow.json. Just double click it and it should be here, and you can see the whole JSON implemented right here, which is super nice. So here you can find the whole documentation on what you should be doing, but we are going to follow this pretty quickly. You can also see if you need to create a Google form, what should be the types of those inputs, and you can also see the whole workflow. So first of all, what we need to do is to create a Google form. Well, I already have a form created, so you can basically copy paste the same thing. So here, when you're creating a new form, make sure to have exactly the same property names options. Even look at case sensitivity, otherwise your project may not work. So here the first input should be email, and it should be of type short answer. This is a required one. Then you have full name. This is also short answer. Then you have company name. This is also short answer. Then you have a plan type, which is essentially a multiple choice where you have free trial, pro trial, and enterprise trial. The values here don't really matter as much as the name right here. So it should be a capital P, a capital T right here in order for it to work well. Similarly, we have the source here. This is also required, and it has website, referral, social media. Feel free to add more even. I don't think it would affect anything at all. Once you have the form created, and it doesn't really even matter what the name of the form is, when you go to responses, make sure that here it says create a Google Sheet. When you click it, it would create a Google Sheet for you. So that is something that you have to do. Then what you need to do is you need to open that sheet, and here you should be able to see all these inputs as well. So we have timestamps, email address, email, full name, company name, plan type, source, and then you would have to create these two yourself, the trial end date and days remaining. Make sure that the case sensitivity is taken care of, which means that if there's a capital T, you need a capital T. If there's a smaller a, you need a smaller a. So make sure that it's exactly the same. Then what you need to do is to create another tab here at the bottom. You can call it users, you can call it CRM, it doesn't really matter. Once you click that, you need to create all these columns as well. Make sure that you are creating the same with the case sensitivity. So I'm going to expand this for you to see what it looks like, and I'm going to make sure that these wraps as well. So just like this. So it should be exactly the same now. All right. So now that we have created all these fields, etc., now we need to enable the flow. So what you are going to do is you're going to start with the Google Sheet. So here you need to double click it, and then you can see that it requires a credential. So what you'll do here is that you are going to click here and say click new credential. And n8n is really nice that it also gives you the link to the documentation on how to do this, but I'm going to show that anyways. So when you go to open docs here, you're going to see that it says that you need to go to Google Cloud Console and create a project. A lot of this would just be free. You may need to add your billing details, but essentially you won't be charged anything. So you need to go to Google Cloud Console project, and here it gives you the link as well. So here you can see console.cloud.google.com, and you can create a new project and essentially assign a billing to it. So what we are going to do now is we are going to create a new project. So here I can quickly go ahead and create a new project. I'm going to name it n8n SaaS. I'm going to assign a billing account to it, and you can select an organization here and just say create, and you can see that now we have the project created. So I'm going to select this project now, and the next step for us is to enable these APIs. So what we are going to do is we are going to go here and we are going to go to APIs and service and enable API and services. Then what you can do is click this plus button, and it's quite possible that the interface basically changes when you're watching this video because Google keeps updating those, but you're going to be able to find your way around. So here I'm going to say Sheets and hit enter, and now you can see Google Sheets API. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to enable this as well. Great. Now you can see that this is enabled. I'm quickly going to search for another API. So I'm going to click enable API and services again, and here I'm going to say Gmail, and here you can see Gmail API because we are going to use it for sending the email. So I can quickly go ahead and say enable here. And once you're done with this, you can essentially go to credentials. So again, if you don't see these options, just go to the sidebar, and in here you should have APIs and services, and here you should have credentials. So just click this, and now here you're going to see create credentials, and we are going to create an OAuth 2.0 credential for this. So create credentials, and here you can say OAuth client ID. So you click this, and now it says configure the consent screen. So if you're creating a new project, you will also see this. So just go through the flow, get started, and you can give this the name. So I can say n8n SaaS, and here you can give your email for support. And then here you can see that we have internal or external. I would just say quickly go ahead and do external. And now here the contact information again. And finally, you just say finish and agree to the terms. And then you can say create. Now that we have set up this, we can quickly go ahead and say create auth client from here. And here in the app type or application type, we are going to select web application. Here we are going to say n8n SaaS client. And now here you can see that we have authorized JavaScript origin. So here I'm going to say sigmamemer.com. So HTTPS sigmamemer.com. And then for the redirect URIs, I have to go back to n8n. And here you can see this OAuth redirect URL. I need to provide exactly the same thing. So I can copy this, go here, and then I can say authorize redirect URIs, and I will add it right here. Great. Now that we have this, we can quickly say create. Now that we have this, we have the client ID and the client secret. So we need to copy these. So I'm going to first copy the client ID, and now I'll go back here in n8n and I'll put my client ID here, and then I'll copy the secret and I will paste that here as well. All right. Now you can see this button. So if I click this button, we should be able to see my account, which means everything should be good. So if I select this, okay, so it shows that the access is blocked. One of the things that is mentioned here that we really did not look at is the Google Drive API. So we also need to enable this as well. So let's quickly go back, and in here, I'm going to go here to enable APIs and services. And here I'm going to quickly go ahead and enable the Google Drive API. So I'm going to quickly go ahead here, and now I'm going to enable this. And now let's quickly have a look at the OAuth consent screen. I think this is something that we already have covered. So that's good. Then we go back to the credentials, and we can see this ID. And now we are going going to try again because it says it may take 5 minutes to a few hours. So it's just probably a matter of time. All right. So now if we try this again, let's see if this works. So I'm going to click this and here it still says access denied. And I think I understand why that's the case. That's because what we have created is for external users. So that won't work. We need to use internal users. So I'm going to delete this and I'm going to delete this as well. And now we are going to create credentials. We are going to go with OAuth client ID, web application. And in here as well, we are going to call this n8n SaaS client. And then we can add the URI. So here I'm going to quickly copy the URL from here. So sigmamima.com, which is right here. And we are also going to go to the workflow and copy this callback. So let's quickly do that. And now I can say create. And now here you can see that the OAuth access is restricted to the test user listed on the OAuth consent screen. So we quickly need to go to the consent screen and change that as well. So here we have two options. We just publish it or just use it internally. Or since I can't make this internal, I can add the users here. So here, just say add users and add your own email here. So for me, it's going to be asan.uptn@gmail.com and then quickly save it. And now that we have added it, let's quickly go and copy the ID to n8n. And I'll also copy the secret as well. And now I'm going to try to sign in again. And here I noticed something that is called sigmamember.com, which should be fixed. But if I click my username here, you can see that here it says it hasn't verified the application, which is fine. If I hit continue, now I can select all these things. So I can do select all and I can say continue. And now you can see that the connection is successful. Yay! So now I can close this guy and then I can go and update my sheet URL here. So you essentially go to the sheet here and then you quickly go ahead and copy this. So you can click share and from here just do copy link and then you can come back to n8n workflow and here you can give the whole URL. Once you do so, you should be able to see the list and if you click here, you should be able to see the tabs. So here you can see form responses and users. This means that it was able to now go to the sheet and pull this up. So now if I go to form responses, we have the row edit here as well. And this is good enough for us. So this is going to give us an output once someone submits a form. So I'm going to keep it like this and then let's see the other things as well. So here we have to go to this log to CRM and then open it. And now I'm going to select the same credential or I can say create new credentials and I can put the same things here as well. So I just need the client ID and client secret. Well, ideally this should be able to pick it. I'm not really sure why not. So let's save this now and let's double check that we have the credential here. Good, we do. And if I double click this guy, I can't see it. Interesting. So let's quickly go ahead and create a new one. I'm going to just need the client ID and secret. So I'm going to go here, copy the ID, put it right here and copy the secret and put it right here as well. Now I'm going to do sign in with Google. It shows the dialog again. I can click this and now I can say continue. And now you can see I have already some access. So I'm going to say continue and the connection is successful. Good. So these two nodes are doing fine. Now I need to go to this welcome email. So I'm going to quickly double click this and do select credentials, create new credential. And here as well, I need to do exactly the same. So I'm going to quickly copy the ID and then the password or the secret. And now if I do sign in with Google, since I already enabled the Gmail API, this should be working fine. So I click it, continue. And here you can see all the accesses. So I'm going to continue from here as well. And now we have it. Then we are going to go to the last alert sales team as well. And in here as well, we can quickly just select the Gmail account. So here you can see already it picks up the Gmail account. So we don't need to check or change anything at all. Now that we have done this, let's quickly verify the parameters everywhere. So I can double click this and see that there's nothing wrong here. Set trial end date. This also looks fine at the moment. If I open this guy, this one requires the sheet. So here you can see that I need to provide the sheet ID. So here you can either say URL or ID. It's up to you. When you're using ID, you are going to select the ID that comes after spreadsheet/d/ and here is the whole ID. So you can copy this or you can just use the URL. So I'm showing you both ways. So you can go to n8n here and put the ID here. Now from the list, you can name it users or whatever. Here you can see that my sheet is called users. So whatever the name of the sheet is here, you need to put exactly here. So let's say for the sake of a bit of change, I'm going to call this CRM. So I save this now. Now I can go back to n8n and here as well, I can select CRM. As you can see, it updated here as well. Now you can see map each column manually. So it's going to map some columns and it's going to fill all of that as well. That's amazing now. The final thing that's remaining is Slack. So if you want to work with the Slack node, you need to create an application as well. For the sake of just demonstrating right now, I'm going to just deactivate it at the moment. And now what I'll do is I'll try to submit a form and this is not working at the moment. So we don't have any signups, etc. because we don't have any responses. If I go to my form, you can see we don't have any responses, but we can test it locally before publishing it. So what we are going to do now is we are going to submit the form once. And for this, what I've done is that I've created 2 accounts on Mailinator as I shared with you before. So when you go to Mailinator, you can essentially create some accounts or just use your own email. Doesn't really matter. So I have this random user as@mailinator.com. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my forms. I'm going to go to the publish URL. So I can quickly copy this. I can go and paste this URL here, and now I can submit the form. I want to copy this username here, and then I can say, okay, record my email. And in the email here, I'm going to say mailinator.com. So here I'm simulating that a user is submitting a form. So here I can say random user and random user company. And then I can go here and say, this is my plan, and then website, and just submit it. Once you submit it, you're going to see that it comes in the form responses right here. So you can see the timestamp, etc., and everything is here. And you can see that the response is here as well. Now that you have this, you will see that there's nothing in here or here so far. So if I go to my n8n workflow, I can do execute workflow or test it. So you can go ahead and just say execute workflow. When you do so, let's see how many things fail in the first attempt. You can see that almost nothing failed, which means that everything worked flawlessly, just like my code from the decade. I'm just kidding. So here you can see everything works fine. If I quickly go to Mailinator, you can see that we have the welcome email that has come now. So you can see that when you're going to follow everything step by step, you're going to also have the same result. So here you can see the email that came in for the onboarding, and you can also see here that this guy should also receive an email if the name was correct. I think the name was not correct, and we did not change it in the n8n workflow. That's why there is a problem. And that is because if we go to our workflow in the sales email, here is the email where the email essentially went, which is not really what we wanted. So here it should have been assales@mailinator.com. Once you do so, everything should be good. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and do execute this step here, and then you can see the node executed successfully. And this is just for testing purposes. Now you can see that here for AS sales, we just got an email. We have a new lead that's random user and not random user for some reason, because I did a typo, of course. And here you can see that the email just came in with all the links. And here you can see that the links also work. If you click it, it goes to app.yoursaas.com. This is obviously supposed to be your actual application with the user. And if you want to pass the email as a query parameter or whatnot, it should be working. So we got the email for both the person who was actually submitting, which was random user AS. So if I go back, I should be able to see this guy right here, random user AS. So this guy got the welcome email, and this person essentially got the email for the sales. So it was AS sales, if I remember correctly. So this guy got the sales email as well. Great. Now I also want to show you how to update the HTML, for example. So here, when you go to the welcome email, and if you scroll a bit down, here is the whole HTML that you want to use. So when you come here, you can just click this expand button, and you can essentially copy paste all of those things. Here you will also see that this is the source code. This is what comes out of it. So here you can see that we have this new trial item JSON full name, which essentially ends up in the real name, random user. The green things that you see here are the output. So it goes through the whole flow, and it picks up information from the sign up. So this is the sign up. When the user submits a form, we essentially get the output from here, and then these are all the informations. And then we essentially replace these placeholders. That's the coding part right here, and then replace with the actual value. So here you can see all of those as well. So if you want to change something, you want to change the color or anything at all, you just need to copy paste this to some other external editor, change it a bit, bring it back here, but make sure that these are at the right places, because these are going to be what essentially renders or is sent. So a couple of things to keep in mind, that this is the essential HTML. If you want to BCC someone in this email or CC, you can also do the same as well. You can also change the subject of this email from here as well, and that's the same for this node as well. So if you open this, you can see that this is who this email is supposed to be sent to, which is your sales team. This is the subject. The subject can also have things from these inputs, and if you want to change anything, just drag and drop from here. So just click it, move it here, and you should be able to just set it. For example, here you could say the timestamp as well. So this is not something that we want, so I'm gonna do a Control Z, and now you can also update the HTML here as well. So again, it's really easy, intuitive, and everything works once you have followed the tutorial in the correct manner. But now that we have looked into the whole flow, we are going to also add the Slack integration. So I'm going to essentially enable this for now. So you can quickly go here and say activate, and now I can double click here, and it's the same process. So click credentials, and here create a new credential. You can open the docs for this one, and then you need to essentially implement a Slack trigger. So what you need to do is you log into your workspace, and then from here you can essentially go to tools and settings, and here you can go to customize workspace, or you can go to manage applications. Once you go there, you can see I already have an n8n application. This is because we have installed it. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to build here, and then here you are going to say agree, and then you can create a new application. So here I'm going to say create new application, and here I'm going to say from scratch. Here I'm going to call it n8n SaaS app, and the workspace is going to be the one that I am in. So this is my workspace. So you need to select this as well. Then you can say create application. Now here you're going to see a couple of things. You have the app ID, you have the client ID, client secret, signing secret, etc., etc. What you need to do is that when you go to the documentation from here, you can read that as well, and it's going to tell you like step by step what to do. But let's have a look at what we really need. We need to have a bot user that we need to create as well. So essentially here you can see that we create an app from scratch, then we enter the app name, then the workspace, and then we create the app. Then we go to features and OAuth and permission. So here let's go to features, and here we have OAuth and permissions right here. And here you can see that we do have this OAuth token, and then we have the redirect URL. So here we need to have the redirect URL. So click this and then go back to your n8n workflow, and here you need to have the OAuth 2. So copy this callback from here and then go to the redirect URL and just paste it here and hit add. All right, so now if you go a bit down, this is what we need to do. So we need to add some scope for the bot. Then I'm going to also add channels read, and here you can also say users write, because I'm sending the message to myself in this case. But here you can also see things like channels join, channels write, invites, etc. I'm not going to go into too much of that detail at the moment, but you can find more tutorials on that as well. But here we have the I am write, which is important for me. Now that we have done this, make sure to save the URLs just like this. So these URLs are saved, and then you can go to basic information and copy the client ID and secret. So here I'm quickly going to go ahead to my n8n workflow, and here we have the client ID, and then I'm going to copy the client secret as well. And then you can copy the client secret, just click this show button and you should be good to go. And then you go to n8n here and then paste it right here. And now you can see this button that says connect my account. So just click this, and now you can see that the connection is successful. Here you can see this pop up, and now if you go a bit down here, you can see allow. So just click that, and there we go. Now we have the account connected. So just close this thing. And now that everything is set up, you could try this again. So if you say execute workflow, it's going to use the same test submission that we did before. And here it now failed because we have not set the channel ID. So once this is done, or once you have connected with the Slack account, go here and see the channel. So from the list here, you need to go ahead and select the sales channel, or you can go ahead and say send the message to user. So this is what we are going to use. So send the message to user from the list and select a user. And I'm going to use my own user, which is sn.ubtn. So here you can just say a simple text message, not blocks, etc. So just simple text message. And then this is the whole message format. So if you want to change that or update that, feel free to do so. So here we are using some variables from the new trial signup, which are these. So you can just, drag and drop them and update if you wanted. But once you're done, this should be good to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click here and then execute the workflow one more time to see if everything works. And now you can see that the Slack thing also worked, and we're logging to the CRM, and all of this is nice. So if I go to my Slack now, you can see already that now we have the message right here. Great. So we can see the new trial sign up, etc. All of the things are here. And now that this is done, the only thing that's remaining is to make sure that this is active and running, and we are not having to execute the workflow every time. So when a new submission comes in, it automatically triggers that. And you can see all of the executions for whenever someone submits the form inside this executions section. So here you can see that we have all these executions that we have done. The initial two passed without any issue. This one was the one where Slack configuration failed because I did not have my username mentioned there, that it has to send the message to myself. And this is the last one that got succeeded. So you can see each individual execution here as well. Now that we have this, quickly let's make this active, and it's going to ask, I think, some questions. So here it says workflow will now regularly check the Google Sheets and event triggers and executions for them. So now I can just say got it. Now you have more things that you could do, that is set up error notifications. For example, what happens if your flow fails? Then you would have to run, let's say, another flow or another n8n workflow that you could run as a fallback. Similarly, you could also track the time saved. But this is now live, which means that now I don't even need to look at this. I could just close this tab, and if someone submits the form again, we will see the execution happening. For example, if we go to Mailinator right now, you can see that here we had 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 21 minutes so far. So I could essentially go ahead and delete all of these at the moment. And now I'm going to copy the username, and I'm going to also delete the messages from the sales team. So I'm going to delete these as well. And now you can see that in our form, we only have one response, right? Now I'm going to submit the form again with the same user. So I can quickly tick this. I can go ahead and say random user 2 and random user company 2, and then can select these things as well. And once I do so, I can just submit here. And now you should be able to see that we have 2 responses. And if I go to Mailinator, you should be able to see the email right here. It should be coming in anytime soon. And it should also come here. Now, one thing that you have to notice is that when you're running things in production, you can set a setting on how it's going to run or what is going to be the interval. And here you can see in this particular node where you can see the polling time is every minute. Now you could run every hour, every minute, every day, depending on what you choose, but it could take a minute before it actually runs the execution. And this is different from running execute workflow, which immediately triggers it. So you have to wait for a while, and you can go to executions to see if something comes in. So here I can see that something actually failed, and you can see that the welcome email failed here, and that is because we probably sent the wrong thing. So if I look at my sheet form responses here, the email is incorrect. It should have been at mailinata.com. So I'm going to submit this again. And now you can see that I've filled the email correctly, the full name, the company name, and I'll submit it. And when you are on the executions page, you can make sure that this auto refresh is ticked. So when the execution starts, you'll automatically see it. And here you can see that this succeeded. So if I click this, you should be able to see that the whole flow actually worked fine. So we should have emails now. So if I go here, you can see the email just now. And if I go to the sales team, you can see the email here as well just now. And if I go to Slack as well, you can see now we have a new log here for random user 3. And that means I can just sit back, or you can just sit back, and whenever someone submits a form, this automation would automatically work, send the emails and whatnot, and I don't have to worry at all. All right, so now that you have deployed this on production, what about scaling? So in general, I would recommend scaling up when you have 50 plus signups a day. And for that, you can gradually update to 2 gigabytes or 4 gigabytes depending on your budget, which would basically be around $46 to $54. And it's not just supposed to run one automation, but you could create many. For example, on our n8n server right now, deployed on our domain, we only have one workflow, but you can have many more running at the same time. Another thing that I would recommend when you have reached 50 plus signups a day is to have rate limiting to avoid Gmail spamming or blocking your email. Or you could consider SendGrid or Mailgun for higher volume. Once you have reached 100 plus signups a day, or you have much more workflows that you're running, I would recommend to going for a general purpose server, which is dedicated server, or a CPU optimized server. And this would range between $106 to $164 per month. And when that happens, I also want you to set up monitoring and logging, also fallback workflows as well when there is an error or a crash. And when you reach 500 plus signups a day, I would recommend you to go with Docker and Kubernetes for deploying it. Also have some sort of load balancing and have multiple n8n instances as well. But to be honest, when you reach that point, you can essentially just hire someone to look at your n8n workflows or just use n8n Cloud. But the beautiful thing about all of this is that you don't need to change anything, whether you're starting right now or you're at 100 plus signups a day. All you need is a different infrastructure, but the n8n workflow stays exactly the same. All right, so let's talk about what you have built today and where to go from here. So what you have now is a production n8n instance, which is not localhost. It has 24/7 uptime with cloud hosting. It has secure HTTPS with valid SSL. It also has the automated trial workflow as onboarding. It also has professional welcome emails, and it also has real-time notifications for Slack. And don't forget, you're logging all of these activities in the CRM, and this is a foundation for you to build on top of it. But here's the thing, this is just the beginning. What you can add on top of this is follow-up emails. For example, on day 3, you can ask your new users how the trial is going. On day 7, you can feature some highlights and also share some tips like video tutorials. And then on day 14, you can essentially prompt them to convert to a paid customer. And don't forget to give a little discount as well. In general, I can say that this can result from 15% to 25% better conversions. Apart from the follow-ups, you could also have payment automation as well. For example, you can give them a trial and downgrade or block automatically. You could also have a retry mechanism when a payment is failing, for example. And when there's a successful payment, you can convert them to a paid customer and sending the right emails. And before we wrap up, I want to share that I have a full workflow automation as well that is available on Gumroad. You're seeing that on your screen, and you can find the link in the description, which has the follow-up emails, the possibility of having a webhook that you can build on top of, and essentially can update the Excel sheet accordingly from your own servers. But honestly, I would say just start with what you've seen today and follow the tutorial as it is and grow the complexity as you grow. In general, this is my recommendation. Week 1, you run the basic flow, you monitor closely, and you fix any issues that come in. Week 2 to 4, you gather data on the conversion rates and also get customer feedback. In month 2, you can start implementing day 3, day 7, and day 14 follow-up emails. You can also add usage tracking and behaviors based on the webhooks. And in the 3rd month, you optimize based on the data that you have gathered and can scale up accordingly. All right, you did it. So you implemented an onboarding flow that brings you revenue that was super easy to implement. And if that was the case, I want you to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And let me know in the comments which workflows would you be interested in that I can create tutorials about. Also, if you are an entrepreneur, this is an amazing opportunity for you to share in the comments what kind of software as a service do you have, how many trials do you have per month, and are you deploying this automation workflow today? I do read every comment and I'll try to help you troubleshoot if you get into issues. Also, share this video to someone that you already know is paying $500 or more on automations like these. And in the end, I want to really say, look, I know this was a long tutorial, about an hour or even more, but you did not just watch watch a video, you actually deployed a solution that will generate you revenue for years to come if done correctly. With that said, I'm eagerly waiting for your comments saying that you have successfully deployed this solution on Cloudways. And as I mentioned before, you have this code that can give you 20% off for 3 months. And I can't wait to see what you built. In the end, thanks for building with me. My name is Mohammed Hassan. And as always, happy coding. I'm going to see you in the next video.